What I'm about to say is something which I started saying about, maybe 3-4 years ago. And I was widely mocked and ridiculed by a lot of people for saying it at the time. But today, I think most of you guys agree with me, and you can finally see it. You can see that what I was saying for the past 4 years is true. And that is that we are currently living in a new golden age of heavyweight boxing. Oh, yes, we are. And Saturday night was further proof of this. This is a golden age. Appreciate it while it's here. We came out of the dark ages when Fury wrestled the world titles from Klitschko. That's when we came out of the dark ages. And since that time, everybody from Deontay Wilder to Anthony Joshua, Fury himself, and even the lower level guys, the Ortizes, the Dylan Whites, the Joseph Parkers, Povetkin, Chisora, all of them have played their part in transitioning into this new golden age. Because for a division, particularly the heavyweight division, to flourish and be in a golden age, winning ain't enough. No, it's not. It might sound like a strange statement, but to have one monolithic champion who dominates the whole division and is always winning, that ain't enough to have a golden age. No, it's not. What the fans want is drama, excitement, rivalries, beef, compelling seesaw battles where people have to climb up off the canvas and snatch victory from the jaws of defeat. This is what people want. These are the ingredients that are necessary to produce a golden age in any division. During the Klitschko era, much of these ingredients were missing. You had this monolithic champion in Vladimir, and prior to that, him and his brother Vitaly, clubbing away at these hapless, in a lot of cases, talentless contenders in very predictable, methodical performances. There was no drama there. There was no excitement there. And this is why the general public around the world, outside of Germany and Ukraine, the general public around the world fell out of love with the heavyweight division because it lacked the drama. And it wasn't just about the fact that the Klitschkos were dominating. No, it was the method with which they would win their fights. Because when Mike Tyson was dominating, when his fights were one-sided, the heavyweight division was still very interesting to a lot of people because Mike Tyson used to take opponents out in exciting fashion. He would come out from the opening bell and he wasn't playing it safe and pawing with a jab and grabbing at every... No, Mike Tyson wasn't doing that. Mike Tyson was coming for your neck from the opening second of the first round. It generated excitement. And of course, his personality outside of the ring also generated excitement. And it's unfortunate that his personal life became, or the tragedies in his personal life became such a fascination to the public. But be that as it may, be that it's unfortunate, it still generated interest. And his whole character being this wild, untamed individual who would go off at journalists and all that kind of thing, it generated excitement. I remember when Mike Tyson came out of prison in 95, the anticipation, the excitement in the world of boxing went through the roof. So these are the ingredients needed to produce a golden age in any division, particularly the heavyweight division, because when it comes to heavyweights, people want knockouts, people want violence, people want drama. Last Saturday's fight between Wilder and Fury took heavyweight boxing to a new level. It was already in a great place and it was already going in a good direction. It was already in the ascendancy. But it's now gone to a new level off the back of Wilder Fury. Why? Because the American interest in the heavyweight division has definitely been somewhat rekindled after this bout. I don't know how much of an effect it's going to have, on the American market, but it's going to have some type of positive effect. This fight, the drama of it, the amount of attention it attracted. So hats off to all these guys for playing their part. If you look at the fights just off the top of my head that have taken place, not only at world title level, but also below in the heavyweight division, you've had, as I say, Joshua against Dillian Whyte. I remember when that fight happened, I said, this is the start of it. You can see now, you're going to see loads of fights like this. I predicted it at the time. You're going to see loads of fights like this, compelling seesaw battles in the heavyweight division. Trust me, you're going to see this. And this is what has manifested. Joshua, Dillian Whyte, great fight, compelling fight. Joshua versus Klitschko, compelling fight. Ortiz versus Wilder, compelling fight. Fury versus Wilder, compelling fight. Even, as I say, at lower level, Dillian Whyte versus Chisora, compelling fight. Chisora versus Takam, compelling fight. I mean, even at a lower level than that, there are great fights, or, nice little fun dust-ups, like a couple months back, Kaunaki versus Charles Martin. That was a fun little heavyweight dust-up. David Price has been involved in all these dramatic fights. So the heavyweight, and you've got so much talent coming through. You got Daniel Dubois, you got Joe Joyce, you got Nathan Gorman, you got Ife Ajagba. Jarrell Miller's a contender now. And you still got people like Alexander Povetkin hanging around, and he was involved in a decent fight with Anthony Joshua. And I think there's still more mileage left in him if he were to fight someone like Luis Ortiz, etc. And in fact, interestingly enough, somebody did a poll in my Facebook boxing group, Hatman Boxing, and the poll asked the question, who would you pick between Wilder and Fury? Excuse me. Who would you pick between Wilder and Povetkin if they were to fight right now? And most people, interestingly, were picking Povetkin. If Povetkin was to fight Wilder now, most people pick Povetkin. That is what that is. Point I'm making is the heavyweight division is in a great, great state right now. Go back to the Klitschko era. How many compelling fights were there during the Klitschko era? Literally hardly any. I mean, the only exciting fights that the Klitschkos were in, for the most part, during the majority of the Klitschko reign, were the fights that they lost. Vitaly Klitschko lost to Lennox Lewis. That was the only exciting fight he was in his entire career. Vladimir Klitschko lost to Ross Purity, Lamont Brewster, Corey Sanders, Anthony Joshua. Those were the only exciting fights that Vladimir Klitschko was in, other than maybe the Kubrat Pulev fight and maybe the Sam Peter fight. You could probably say those two. And the Sam Peter fight wasn't that exciting. It had its moments. But the Pulev fight, I would say, was a more compelling fight. But for the most part, the only exciting fights they were in were the fights that they lost. Whereas today, it's not like that, is it? Joshua's been in multiple exciting fights and he's undefeated. Tyson Fury's been in exciting fights and he's undefeated. Deontay Wilder's been in exciting fights and he's undefeated. Dillian Whyte has been in multiple exciting fights and he's only got one loss. You understand? It's a great time for heavyweight boxing. Let's enjoy it. Let's embrace it, because a few years from now, a new dark age might begin. That's how it goes. Things run in cycles. So, you know, the good times need to be appreciated while they're here. Everybody's playing their part. As a fan, I would like to see an undisputed fight sooner rather than later. But the way things are sounding from Team Wilder, it doesn't appear as though that's going to happen anytime soon. Wilder is talking about giving Fury a rematch, and that's fair enough. Maybe he's contractually obligated and he's not talking about it, because I find it interesting that there's a lot of ambiguity about whether there's a rematch clause in their contract or not. And I think there's ambiguity on purpose. I think that Team Wilder, in this instance, want to be able to spin the narrative that if they give Fury a rematch, it's voluntary. It shows the honor and the pride that Deontay Wilder has. Whereas it might not be voluntary. It could be something which Fury insists on and Wilder can't get out of. But they may try to spin it as though it's voluntary, you know? Or perhaps it is voluntary. Maybe, you know, I'm theorizing here. I'm speculating. But again, it is interesting that there seems to be ambiguity about whether or not this fight has a rematch clause. But as I say, I want to see this undisputed heavyweight title fight as soon as possible. But it looks like we're going to have to wait a while longer, hearing what Deontay Wilder's been saying. And it contradicts what his manager Shelly Finkel initially said after the Fury Wilder fight, which was that they're going to make Anthony Joshua another offer. Because now Shelly Finkel and Wilder are saying that it's most likely going to be Fury next. It's what Wilder's saying in this article. And look, Wilder-Fury rematch is a great fight. And it's a fight that will continue to build the heavyweight division. It will continue to push things in the right direction, of course. Now, perhaps it's because, as I say, there's a rematch clause, or perhaps it's because they want to continue building up their side of the table. Because right now, it's a little lopsided in favor of Matchroom and Anthony Joshua financially. If they build up their side, if Fury and Wilder build up their market value, they can eventually go to the table with Joshua and say 50-50, 45-55, and it will be a much bigger fight by then. So it appears as though money, etc., is going to make us wait for this Wilder Joshua fight, or Fury Joshua fight, depending if Fury beats Wilder in a rematch. This undisputed heavyweight title fight, we're going to have to wait a little longer for it, which is frustrating as a fan. But Rome wasn't built in a day. And having lived through the 1990s, the previous golden era of heavyweight boxing, I understand that this is not unusual. It took a long time in the 90s for many fights to get made. So it is what it is. You've got Anthony Joshua here calling for a fight against either Deontay Wilder or Tyson Fury. Now, some people are saying, well, Wilder's saying Joshua's now jealous and so on and so forth. Well, if he is jealous, it makes a change, doesn't it, from Wilder and Fury being jealous. Look, it's all swings and roundabouts at the end of the day. My primary concern is that there's a undisputed heavyweight title fight, a unification. That's my primary concern. The back and forth, he say, she say, is all fun and games, but I want to get the fight on. But I understand the process, and the process is Wilder and Fury understand that together they can build each other's market value up to a point that they can go to the negotiating table with Anthony Joshua as equals, rather than going there and feeling like they're getting bent over a desk by Joshua and Hearn and financially raped, you know? So I understand the process. but it is frustrating. Do I think that Deontay Wilder is scared of Anthony Joshua? Personally, I don't. I don't know that for a fact, but I personally don't think he is. But then again, maybe he feels a little more mortal after the Tyson Fury fight because it was so tough for him. So who knows how he's feeling now? I hope at some stage the fight happens, whether it's Wilder, whether it's Fury or somebody else. Who's to say Anthony Joshua won't lose in the meantime? In fact, this is what Deontay Wilder said here in this article. I think it's in this article. He said, hopefully somebody beats Joshua. That's pretty, that's a pretty hateful thing to say. He's got a lot of hatred in his heart, seemingly, for Anthony Joshua. And like I say, these kind of rivalries and bad blood actually helps the division because people want rivalries and bad blood. But the downside to this situation is they're trying to make out as though the guy who has been beating people like Povetkin, Parker, Klitschko, Takam, who has all but one of the belts, they're trying to make out as though this guy's irrelevant when he's selling out 80,000, 90,000 stadiums and making more money per fight than both of these guys combined. They're trying to make out he's irrelevant. At this stage, he's very much still very relevant. Very relevant. But the balance is starting to change a little bit. It definitely is. And these two guys are helping each other out. You see, this is why Tyson Fury, despite the fact that many people think he won against Deontay Wilder, this is why Tyson Fury wasn't mad in the post-fight interview. This is why he wasn't mad at the decision, because he knows that he won because of the fact that it was a compelling fight, because of the fact that it was exciting for the fans. He knows that that's a win for him in terms of building up his market value. That's why he was so happy. And that's why Deontay Wilder seems so happy now, because he knows it was a win for him too. Now they're finally getting some of the limelight which they've been missing out on, which has been hogged by Anthony Joshua for so many years. They're finally getting a piece of that limelight. And because they're getting a piece of it, they're like, you know what? We don't need to fight Joshua right now. Let's build our platform. Let's build our limelight up and let him wait. Let him chase us. This is the way certainly Wilder appears to be looking at it. And perhaps that's the way Fury's looking at it too. Again, frustrating for the fans. Look, the Wilder Fury rematch is a great fight. I want to see it. But if I had to choose what I want to see next, I would rather see an undisputed heavyweight title fight next. And then see that guy fight Tyson Fury, whoever the winner of Joshua Wilder is. I mean, let's say Wilder goes and fights Joshua. Most of you guys who hate Joshua, you think Wilder's going to spark Joshua out anyway. So what issue would you have with Wilder fighting Joshua? If you think Wilder's going to win, you should be pushing for that fight, because then Wilder can fight Fury in a rematch for all the belts. Isn't that better? It will be a bigger fight. So it is what it is. Anyway, let me know how you feel in the comment section below about all the points I've raised in this video. All right, it's happening. I'm out. Join me on Patreon. I upload a minimum of 2 podcasts every single week, covering a wide variety of controversial topics, as well as live stream Q&A sessions. Take a look on screen right now at some of the podcasts I've produced so far. For just $3 a month, the equivalent of about £2 a month, you get access to all my new podcasts and my entire back catalogue of past podcasts, including my popular Confessions of a Nightclub Bouncer series. You can listen on your computer or on your smartphone or tablet by downloading the Patreon app from the Google Play Store or the App Store for free. The Patreon app also allows you to download each podcast in MP3. For less than the price of a cup of coffee, you get access to dozens of hours of exclusive content. It's easy to sign up, there's no contract, and you can cancel at any time. So come and join our community of free and critical thinkers by signing up with me here on Patreon today.